What's going on, everybody? Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I am your host, Tom Scavetta, joined by George Bristol here tonight on this week's episode of Big Blue Avenue. We'll have him come up in just a couple of moments. Before we get into the meat of the show, if you're new to the channel, make sure to check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Big Blue Avenue. We appreciate all of our fans and all the support throughout the season. It's been another tough season, but let's dive right into it. Week 16 key takeaways here. Before we bring up George, I just want to mention this. This is the Giants' ninth fall 16-13 to the Minnesota Vikings in a game where Jackson Dart threw for just 33 yards through the air. He was sacked 5 times with 1 interception. They lost Andrew Thomas in the game with a hamstring injury. He got replaced by Marcus Bowe. Aaron Stinney started in place of John Runyon. Runyon was celebrating the birth of his baby, so he missed the game. And the Giants as a team, because of those two, pieces missing on the offensive line, large part as to why they only had 13 passing yards. This was a game where they outrushed the Vikings, but they were 0 for 3 in the red zone. They couldn't score. They couldn't find a way to throw the football. Tyrone Tracy looked good. Devin Singletary was serviceable, averaging over 4 yards per carry, but they couldn't get any. Darius Slayton had another drop. Theo Johnson did not have a catch. And Wan'Dale Robinson had just 3 catches for 17 yards. The defense, however, did show up. They had 4 sacks and 9 QB hits. Brian Burns showed up. Chauncey Golston got a sack. Abdul Carter got a sack for the second straight week. And I will say the run defense did a much better job, giving up just 3.7 yards per carry this week. I shouldn't say much better, but a little better. Charlie Bowen has done much better than who the hell was our DC? Shane Bowen, since he's taken over against the run. Tyler Newman had that fumble recovery off J.J. McCarthy, returned it for the touchdown. But the bottom of the line is Max Brosmer came into the game late in the first half, played all the second half, and the Giants still cannot score points to beat the Vikings against a backup quarterback that nobody really knows about. So definitely brutal work. Hopefully McCarthy is okay. He had a right hand injury. I will say Ben Sauls looked good. He made 2 field goals and 1 extra point. However, he did kick the opening kickoff out of bounds in the windy Meadowlands flag-filled game. Each team had 11 penalties. Vikings had 2 turnovers. The Giants had 1. And our player of the week this week is Brian Burns. He gets the nod, 2 sacks on the game, 15 for the season. He gets our week 16 recognition. And let's bring back our returning guest of the show. I believe this is his 4th time on this season, and folks, prepared to be dazzled because George Bristol is here, ladies and gentlemen. George, you okay there?
Oh, I'm doing great. How are you, Tom?
I'm doing great. First off, what made you think of wearing the bag over your head tonight, and what went into the decision-making there? It looks good on you.
We don't have much left, so we're in the bag over the head phase.
Yep, fire everyone.
Except for Carmine Brasilio.
Yes, Carmen Brasilio is the one coach that should not get fired. How long did that take you to make, and who made it? Did your son make it?
No, I made it myself, and it took longer. It took longer than it should have.
Crazy work, crazy work. But your honest opinion, George. I'm gonna throw you right into the fire, like I've done most weeks that you've been on. What was your honest opinion on the way the offense was run against Minnesota? Because it seemed to me like Mike Kafka and his coaching staff are trying to turn Jackson Dart into a drop-back pocket passer over the last couple of weeks. At least that's what it seems, and it hasn't been working.
I don't know if they were trying to do that, but I think there was a couple things going on. This was the first game where Jackson Dart truly looked like a befuddled rookie. And that was really thanks to Brian Flores' defense. He was getting a lot of stuff he was unfamiliar with. You factor that in, I think Kafka told him, we're not going to run design runs, anything using your mobility. He did look a little more conservative with the dropbacks, the way he looked like a different quarterback. So I don't know with what's measured to gain by this season, if the staff just said, there's no risk in getting this guy another concussion this year. We don't want to end up with a Tua on our hands where it almost becomes detrimental for the man's health to play the football game. So I think a little bit of that and the defense just being masterful at times. Is that what you saw, or?
I think so. I think the chaos it looked like stuff that he hasn't seen before, and I think with Minnesota their win streak, you have to attribute to the fact that most of their this year they were without key pieces like Blake Cashman and Andrew Van Ginkel for several games. Now those two guys are back, to add with the mix of Dallas Turner and you saw how Dan, right? Terrible. He couldn't handle the blitz, and Jackson Dart, it was a similar thing. But his receivers didn't help him, right? I mean, Slayton had just another brutal drop in this game that just made me shake in my head. And
he's a three-year, $36 million man too.
And I'm pretty sure the Eagles signed Saquon for similar numbers, despite being a very different position, which is brutal. Now, I want to ask you this. We've been talking about the offense in the early stages of the show here. Do you think the firing of Brian Daboll has stalled Jackson Dart's development? Now, it doesn't have to be a simple yes or no. It could be, has it contributed to his development being stalled at all?
Yeah, probably. I mean, Jackson Dart, for lack of a better term, he's kind of stalled himself, right? He's got Dable was so high on him, a lot of design runs, maybe too many. Now he's got Kafka in the interim. He knows he's going to get a new head coach next year. Lord knows what they're going to bring to the table, what their philosophy is going to be, how they view Jackson Dart as a passer. So I don't know if it's stalled the development, but it's definitely not. It's not on the front the way Dable had him. Dable saw him as the golden goose. This kid might save my job. Now that's all gone. Kafka's just kind of keeping the seat warm. I think the team losing every game hurts his development. To be honest with you, that's a mental thing too. I mean, he's got to be getting sick of going up to the podium saying the same thing every week.
You're definitely right about that, and it is getting a little bit repetitive. The questions that are being asked, the performances we see week in and week out, and it's a shame because I think certain position units have made strides this season and even last season, and one unit is the offensive line. I mean, for the first time in a long time, we're not talking as a position of weakness. This is actually, and yes, we're in the year 2025, and the Giants O-line is one of the better offensive line units in the NFL. And they upgraded at the quarterback position as well. A lot of people believe, including myself, I think you could say the same. Why are they 2-13 then? What's going on?
3 words. Scatterboo. That's one word, isn't it?
Yeah. Close. Good try.
I think if Cam Scatterboo was still on the team actively in games, obviously some of these games might have become wins. Don't get me wrong, Singletary and Tyrone Tracy are both serviceable, but they're not really scared of him. They don't plan for him. Teams were actively starting to plan for Scatterboo because he was such a problem in the direct run game. He's physical. So as great as the O-line played, they didn't really have the fireworks behind them like they did when Scatterboo was in the game. Also, another thing, the Giants the last couple weeks have not done a lot of play action for whatever reason, both in run-heavy games, which is kind of boggling to me. He might have went play action 2 or 3 times this week.
Yeah.
It's kind of low for the amount they ran. Generally you run to set up the play action. That exposes your one-on-ones, your foolery, let's say. They didn't do any of that. So that also impacts offensive line success, moving the ball defenses know it. They're just going to stack the box, and you're going to get your 2, 3, 4, 5 yards a rip. But when you don't get those third downs, which they didn't this week, it's pretty simple.
Right. And now with the team being 2-13, we kind of get to this question here. And I'm not exactly sure if we'll have the exact same take on this. So there has been noise from the fan base that this upcoming week, the game against the Las Vegas Raiders, both teams are 2-13. The Raiders are on a 9-game losing streak, as are the Giants. Should they lose this game, or do you want them to lose this game? Obviously, they're not going to play to lose. That's just not true at all. That's not how the NFL works. As a fan, do you want them to lose this game to guarantee themselves a number 1 overall pick? Are you a fan of tanking? Why or why not?
I'm not a fan of tanking. I think the Giants are involuntarily tanking. I don't think it's on purpose, but I think their play is so bad that it's not going to win a game. I don't really see much of a difference. I don't see them drafting at number 1 regardless. They're going to probably trade that pick, which draft capital is always good. I know there's some real wackos out there that think they're going to trade Dart and end up with Mendoza. I don't see that happening. So I don't think they're tanking. I think what you're going to see is 2 terrible football teams, do their best to win.
Yeah. I kind of agree with that. I don't like – I want to win this football game because, look, I mean, do you agree that even if they're at 2, they're likely trading back from it?
Yeah. I would say if they can get any kind of action on the top 3, because they're going to probably look at defensive players and maybe a wide receiver. And if those guys fall out of the scope of top 3, which as of right now they aren't in, I think they'll definitely trade back. Also, there's a little bit of politics in it. It depends what teams are looking to trade, obviously. But if they get the number 1 pick, I think it'll be real interesting. They'll have a lot of offers. So,
yeah. Well, this is my take on the whole thing, right? I understand why fans want to get the highest pick possible. I get it from their eyes. In my eyes, the players are playing to win. The coaches are playing to win. These players and coaches might not be back next year. This is, one of the be together as a team, and you could talk about, oh, well, culture wins aren't good. It's the reason why we missed out on, Drake May in 2024, Jaden, guys like that. Do you want Dexter Lawrence to stay? He doesn't look very happy right now. Do you like that Brian Burns is a Pro Bowler or that Andrew Thomas is likely an All-Pro again? Do you want those guys to stay here long term? I mean, let's face it. We're locked into a top 3 pick anyway. What does it matter? What does it matter? You go in, you try your best to win the game. As a fan, I'd love to win a football game on Sunday. I haven't felt that feeling in 2 months. In 2 months. The Giants are and you mentioned something interesting before, George. The Giants are 0-7 since Cam Scadaboo suffered that season-ending injury. 0-7. How do you think Dart feels right now? Not good? You think he's going to feel good if they finish the year 0-9? Regardless of who the next new head coach is, those players are still going to have that feeling in the back of their minds. Now you rewind and look at the 0-4 Giants, right? Eli's rookie year. They're losing every game. They come back. They win the last game. They weren't worried about where they were drafting. They didn't have a first-round pick anyway that year. 2005, they only had 4 picks, and 3 of them were hits. And it helped them win a Super Bowl 2 or 3 years later. What does it matter? They made the playoffs the following season at 11-5. They got a clutch win late against Dallas the final week of the season where Eli hands it off to Tiki. Tiki scores. They win the game. I think the final was 28-24, something like that. What do you think that did for Eli's confidence heading into 2005? Made him feel a lot better about himself. And I think we could see a similar thing here with Jackson Dart. I don't know about you, George. I would love to beat Dallas in Week 18. I would love to end their season on a sour note. I don't think we will, but I would love to see it.
No, I totally agree. We're in a weird spot. I mean, most fan bases would be elated to have the number one pick. We're kind of in a weird place where if you're going to draft the player that should be drafted there, it's probably going to be a quarterback, and we don't really need a quarterback. So now, what do? You either go cheap on the pick, which they're not going to do. The pick's valuable to a bunch of teams. Uh, I don't think they're in love with doing business with the Jets, but the Jets are probably one of the smarter teams to try to make a package up for that pick. Um, wouldn't be shocked if the Raiders do something too. You never know.
We know they're looking to move off Geno Smith sooner than later, so that could be an interesting proposal, George. But yeah, all in all, hope for the best. Giants are probably going to lose one or both of these last two games, but we'll see what happens. The Raiders are definitely a very beatable team. Speaking of the Raiders, let's get into our Week 17 preview. Giants, Raiders, baby. Raiders favored by 1.5. They are the home team. Raiders are on a 9-game losing streak. However, coming off a thin, razor-thin 2-point loss at Houston last week where Geno Smith returned to action, coming back after Kenny Pickett started for a couple of weeks. And he had a solid game. He had the one pick six. But other than that, I thought his numbers were okay. Ashton Ginty had an awesome game, ran for over 125 yards. And Brock Bowers scored a touchdown. So I just talked about Ashton Ginty, George. He's a huge player on this Raiders team, the rookie running back out of Boise State. He's been looking to explode and break out, and he finally did it against a good Houston front compared to what the Giants offer with their defensive front. How in the world do they contain him?
Like you said earlier, the Giants looked better this week on the run. With that being said, they've looked awful for the 7 weeks before it. They were running at will. I think they're going to struggle a little bit with Ashton Jenney. I think he's starting to get his wheels in motion. He's got to have 850 yards by now, no, for the season?
Yeah, he's got around 8, I think 828 is the number.
Yeah, and he had a little bit of a slow start too, so he wouldn't shock me to be a guy that annually gets 1,000 yards for fun. So I think they're going to have a little bit of a hard time with him and Bowers, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't like the way this is trending as far as the Raiders' weapons being limited here. And speaking of Bowers, Brock Bowers, second-year tight end out of Georgia. Trey Tucker as well, a young wideout who has come on this year. 2 explosive players. Which one of these guys specifically, looking at our defense, poses more of a matchup problem? Is it Bowers or is it a guy like Trey Tucker?
I'm going to honestly say both of them. Our defense in the secondary has become either a pickoff or a failed play. I mean, there's no in between when it comes to coverage. They either execute it masterfully or they fail completely. As soon as Deontay Banks gets in the game, they're going to pick on him. Bowers is going to be a matchup problem for the linebacking core. Even if a safety drops down on him, he's a great player himself. I was really high on Brock Bowers coming out of college. So I think they're both going to cause a problem. The equalizer would be Abdul Carter and Brian Burns. If they can make Geno Smith's day hell, it might be a little better. If they can't do that, if Dexter can't push through, if the front line can't do much, I think one, if not both of those guys will have a field day.
Yeah, I mean, I think, too, the Giants still bottom 2 in run defense in the NFL. And what does that do? If you can't stop the run, it sets up play action pass. If you give Geno Smith time in the pocket, he's going to find his weapons. He's not a garbage quarterback. He's an older, declining quarterback. But hopefully with a guy like Brian Burns, who has 15 sacks, and an Abdul Carter, who now has sacks in back-to-back games all of a sudden, they were able to get pressure on Geno Smith against what I would call a weaker Raiders offensive line. In fact, since we got Carm Brasillo, their former O-line coach, their O-line has declined. I mean, this is a revenge game for guys like Greg Van Roten and Jermaine Illuminor, who used to play for this team. So all in all, you would hope that they come out and look good on the rush to try to get the Raiders a little bit off balanced. I mean, I'm not exactly impressed with Stone Forsythe, their current starting left tackle for the injured Colton Miller, who's on IR. Stone Forsythe was part of our 90 man in the offseason. He didn't even make our 53-man roster. And now he's their starting left tackle. And then you have DJ Glaze, who is a late round pick from a few years back, starting for them at right tackle. The Raiders, on paper, have the second worst offensive line in the National Football League. There is no reason why those two guys, and even somebody like Dexter Lawrence, can get involved with some sacks in this game because Geno's not mobile. He is an old school quarterback. He can't move. I mean, I don't know, George. What do you think about that? Just to kind of like a follow-up question there. I don't see how this Raiders offensive line can hold up. When I'm looking at these names, outside of Stone Forsythe, I can't name a single guy. Like, if you ask me right now, name the Raiders' 5 starting offensive linemen, couldn't name one.
Well, I'd feel more confident answering that if I saw a whole hell of a lot out of the Giants' defensive line, with the exception of Brian Burns. I mean,
Right.
Burns has been the only note of consistency for that defensive line. Everybody else, I mean, Dexter is like not there. He does not
You
pop
could
up in the
tell.
stat line. Carter has obviously shown an uptick as of late, but I mean, I can't just come here and be like they're going to tee off on that line. I really have no idea what's going to happen. This team is in such a disastrous place right now.
Sure.
I almost look at these games as, all right, nobody get hurt. All right, no one get career-ending injuries, and just get through these games, rebuild, get back to the table with a new coach, new coaching staff, maybe a new GM, maybe some new players. You never know. There's going to be some optimism there, but I can't. I've watched a lot of Giants football. This is one of the worst teams I've ever seen them put on the table.
Worse than last year, too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think so. I mean, last year was a dumpster fire too. I mean, it's almost like who's the nicest guy in prison? They're
Right.
who cares at this point?
That's a good way to put it. But on the horizon is a new year, 2026. New year, new you, George. What's one New Year's resolution you have for the New York Football Giants in 2026?
I just want to be back at the party. That's it. I just want to have relevance of a fan base. Our fan base gets killed. Every every media outlet says we're the worst fan base. We have the worst this, the worst that. We're in a real bad way right now, and some franchises have been in this way longer than we've been. So I don't know how they do it, but it's pretty ugly right now. So start small, baby steps. Compile a couple of wins. You got to get Giants fans back in the building. That's something more of a monetary thing. When the Giants are playing halfway decent, you can't afford to go to a game. Um, and then when the Giants are terrible, they don't want to go there. Like, I feel like Giants fans are getting sick of going to MetLife. It's pretty apparent. I mean, you can axe that snow game. That was obviously weather related, but the two games I went to this year were, I mean, 50-50 rival fan base versus ours. That shit never used to happen in the Meadowlands, ever. Like, ever. That was unholy. You don't see that in the Link. You don't see that in Kansas. You don't see that in Hines. You don't see that in Mile High. So why do we have that problem here in New Jersey? Beyond me.
That's well said. And I think a part of it is a lot of these fans just don't care. They don't want to spend their money and go to these games and watch this team. They're all like sitting at home. Why would you go to a game in December when it's snowing and there's traffic, interim head coach, interim DC, half your roster's hurt or just not playing well? Like, there's no reason to go. What's enjoyable about that? You might as well go to work. That might be more entertaining than watching this team right now, to
But
be honest with you.
I'm not just talking about this season though. I mean, I'm talking about in the last 15 years. Some of those years, not many, were playoff years. And even then, the rival fan base always had a foothold in that stadium.
I think we all should have seen it coming with the way Coughlin left his resignation press conference at the end of the 2015 season. That's when a light bulb should have went off and be like, oh crap, because they were struggling with Coughlin as well. But the difference between Tom Coughlin Giants teams and what we had now is at least when we didn't make the playoffs and we weren't great, we still had a respectable record. It wasn't like, oh my God, they're 4-12, they're 3-13, here they are again, bottom feeder of the league. It never felt like we were a bottom feeder under Tom Coughlin. I always felt like during his worst years, we were below average, middle of the pack. Now, it's just gotten so low that you almost feel nothing when the Giants lose at this point. Most fans get pissed off. It ruins their weekend when their football team loses. For us, it's like, okay, same shit, different week at this point. And then you move on with your life. Like, yeah, it's out of my control. Why do I care at this point?
And
And it's sad.
all of that comes down to the continuity of the team. I mean, we've had a coaching problem ever since Coughlin resigned. Um, we've just had this revolving door of staffs, and when you have that for so long, you don't have an identity after a while. You're kicking around in the wind.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I think we are now what a team like Jacksonville was in the 2010s. Not relevant, didn't care. The Clevelands of the world, Vegas, who is still down there. But anyway, let's move on. Talk about bigger and better things here. That was a rough transition, but as we get into the X's and O's of this game, George, we expect a sloppy game, to say the least. But let's talk about 2 or 3 key players from each team to watch on both sides of the ball, who has a potential to be a massive contributor in the game this week. We'll start with the Giants.
Number one, I'm going to say Jackson Dart. I want to see if he can have a comeback game. If Jackson Dart goes out there and he's doing the same cautious bullshit from last week, then I'll know Kafka got in his ear and said, shut it down. Party's over. Wait till next year. I'm not going to get you hurt. There's no value in getting you hurt, trying to win a meaningless game. So Jackson Dart, if he could have a comeback game, if he can get out there fired up. He also broke his chain last week, which I thought was funny. Did you see that?
I did see that.
I've been telling him like I know him. I've been screaming at the TV, get rid of that goddamn chain. No reason to have it as a quarterback, especially that gets his bell rung every week. But
I agree.
I digress. So Jackson Dart, number one for the Giants. All right. Number two, I'm going to go Abdul Carter. Is this a fluke the last couple weeks, or are you the real deal now, Abdul, after being in the newspaper for like 20 days straight about your laziness? Are you the real deal? Let's find out. Pretty good matchup, like you said earlier. Someone has he's a freak athlete. I'm not going to lie. His angles to the quarterback are insane. See if Abdul Carter has a big game. And then the little engine that could, Wandale Robinson. Can he get freed? Can he get sprung? Can he get to 1,000 yards, which I'm sure is a big deal for him? He made it sound like it was a big deal for him in Steve Serby's question and answer a couple weeks ago. Can Wandale Robinson have a nice 70, 80, 90-yard game, maybe a touchdown? Just he's a little bit of a spark, maybe something he can do to help us win on Sunday.
Absolutely. All great picks. I would love to see Wandale hit 1,000 yards. I think that would be an awesome accomplishment for him. He's definitely getting paid in the offseason. For me specifically, on offense, Marcus Bowe, if Andrew Thomas can't go, which is what it's looking like right now, even though he quoted on Sunday after they lost, I've missed enough time. I want to be out there for my football team, and it means a lot coming from your leader, but hamstrings are tricky, man. Marcus Bowe is my player to watch because that's who I do expect to start at that position. Unfortunately, However, I don't think Marcus Bowe is a bad player. I think he will be starting at some position on the line next season. But the reason why I mention him is you're going up against Max Crosby, who has 10 sacks on the season. That leads all Raiders. George, he has 28 tackles for loss. That's
Yeah,
top of the NFL.
he's a problem.
He's a stud. He's the whole package. He could stop the run. He could rush the passer. He could jump up and swat passes down. He has 6 passes defended.
Even gets in coverage a little bit.
Absolutely. So yeah, Marcus Bowe for the Giants. For me, I also think that Dexter Lawrence is going to have to have a big game because with Aston Ginty and the way he ran the football last week, Dexter needs to clog in those A and B gaps and be able to help this interior stop the run. I know they're not going to be able to stop it, but at least if you could limit him to like 20 carries for like 80, 85 yards, I would view that as a win for the Giants personally, because he's going to get the ball a lot. George, who on the Raiders are you looking at?
Brock Bowers. Not to sound like a Brock Bowers homer, but that was the type of tight end I was kind of hoping the Giants were gonna be able to get. Obviously, we didn't. Ironically, the guy that preceded him, Michael Mayer, I also wanted the Giants to go for him. I thought he would have been a good fit. That didn't work out either. But I think Brock Bowers is going to be a matchup nightmare. Whether you blanket him with a safety, whether you draw an outside linebacker over, or you try to go man with him with a corner, good luck. He's physical. He's going to, on those corner post routes, he's going to have – if he gets a catchable ball, he's going to get it. He's not going to drop it. He doesn't do any of that kind of shit. So he's going to be a problem. I think Max Crosby is going to be an issue. His plays are what they call impactful. A lot of his stuff isn't just on a stat sheet. It makes a difference in the flow of the game, let's say. But definitely Brock Bowers. I think Brock Bowers is going to have an easy opposition. I don't know if he's going to have a great game or not. That depends on him. But as far as it looks, I mean, there isn't a member of the secondary that I am confident in right now every snap of the game. Not one. Maybe Flott a little bit, but even law of averages say you can't have one guy in the secondary doing his job. So, and I'm telling you, if they get Deonte Banks in that game, they are going to throw to whoever he goes with. It's been the story this whole year. I don't know why they haven't benched him completely or cut him. I have no clue why. Teams are literally changing game plans and going, all right, where's Tay Banks? Perfect. That's where we're going the rest of the game. Wait, what? No, yeah, we're going to go after Deonte Banks because if you look at his numbers, they're abysmal. And then he commits fouls on top of it. Right. I know I'm picking on Deonte Banks too much, but
no, as you should. You have a right to because he has not played well, and he's getting paid a lot of money he's a former first-round pick, and he's falling off a cliff
after a great rookie year.
Yeah, because I'm not solely excusing it based off this, but the scheme changed, and he was not willing to learn and adapt to this new scheme. I don't think he personally liked Shane Bowen. I don't think he liked some of the guys that were brought in. There's tension in this locker room. I think this is a very divided locker room, honestly, with the way I look at things. And I think when you drafted guys like Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo, that kind of bridged them together for a little bit. But now that Scatterbo's hurt, it just kind of feels like there's nothing there. I mean, a lot of these guys that are on the roster now won't be back next year. But yeah, anyway, my players to watch for the Raiders, I really like Devin White at linebacker for them. He leads the NFL. He leads the NFL in tackles, 160 tackles, 10 tackles for loss. This is a guy who, had some injury issues towards the end of his tenure with Tampa Bay. He's revitalized his career out there in Vegas under Patrick Graham, our former defensive coordinator. He's now, coaching Vegas out there. And White's had a good season in what's been an underwhelming defense. I also think Jeremy Chin is an interesting player at safety, 114 stops. He's been talked about a lot this year because the Raiders have given up significant big plays. The Raiders have one good player at each level of the defense, and everything else is awful. They have 3 good players on their defense, and we've mentioned the 3 good ones in Crosby, White, and Chin. That's it. That's all they got. The writing is there. If Jackson Dart doesn't throw for at least 250 yards in this game, there's a problem. I know it's not great to put just a number out there and have that in mind, but you get what I'm trying to say. They need to pick on this defense. And my gosh, I mean, these receivers better show up for the Giants. One more player I want to point out for Vegas is Trey Tucker. Little gadget player, similar to Wandale, a little bit older, 50 catches, 5 touchdowns on the year. He has developed nicely. Him and Jack Betch, the rookie, second-round rookie out of TCU, those are 2 young receivers that I think could have an impact on this game. Tucker is more intermediate, between the downs type of guy. So, yeah, that is our players to watch for this Sunday. And now, George, we know it's the holiday season and we're all about giving, but we have to be the Grinch here for a moment and steal a player from Vegas and throw them on the Giants to help them win this game. Who are you stealing?
I want to steal Brock Bowers, but I've said Brock Bowers this whole time. Makes me feel like a homer. Don't really need Max Crosby, so I'm going to go with Mr. Chin. I actually went with a member of the secondary on the last show as well, so I'm not a fan of our secondary, if you can't tell. Anything would be an upgrade, but he's an exceptional player. I would love to actually have a strong-willed, even-keel, shut-down member of a secondary, which we haven't had in quite some time. So, yeah, I'm going to go Chin. Although Bowers would be like a close second because I really – he fits Giants football to a T, in my opinion. He reminds me a lot of both Bavaro and Shockey. Not the attitude part as much, but just the way he attacks the running route. I love how he plays the game.
Production, yeah. By the way, you know they have Jamal Adams as a starting weak side linebacker on their team.
Yeah,
Just goes to show where they're at as a franchise right now, and they're a franchise that struggled too. They don't draft well. They drafted a little bit better this year, but for me specifically, I'm gonna go with Devin White. We need another linebacker. Want to pair him with Bobby O. I know they're very different types of players, but this Giants defense has been the problem this year, not the offense. As much as I love Ginty and Bowers, the Giants are able to win games with this current production that they have, but the defense has cost them a lot. However, I do think the talent on offense and personnel needs to improve next season. They need a better wide receiver too. They could also get in another tight end for some competition as well. So those are just a couple things I want to point out there as we get into our game predictions. George, moment of truth. Who wins the toilet bowl, tank bowl, trash bowl, whatever you want to call it?
Can I ask you one question before I do a prediction, though?
You may.
You want to add another tight end to this? Between Fedoni, Bellinger, and Theo? Like, you really want to have a four-headed cluster?
Well, here's my thing. Bowers is an athlete. Oh, you mean like what I said after that?
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is, Manhurts and Bellinger are both not under contract after this year. So Theo and Fedoni are really the only 2 that are left under contract. And if a new GM comes in, I doubt they retain Bellinger. So my thinking is, and this is my problem with Theo, right? He reminds me of a larger Evan Ingram in a sense, where he's built bigger, but he has some drop problems. Last year, he was hurt a lot. He's been a lot better this year. I don't know if it's the first thing I do, but I think getting another tight end in here, like maybe a blocking tight end, like not a tight end to replace Theo, just to make that clear. That's not where I'm going at. I think Theo and Fedoni are, really good receiving tight ends. I'm not too sure about Fedoni's blocking. I'm not going to pretend like I know a whole lot about that because we barely saw him on the field this year. but I would definitely like basically more like a younger man Hurts, a guy, or just bring Bellinger back. I don't know. I just think that you can't have enough weapons on an offense, and I don't think it would necessarily hurt to draft one on day 3 because if Theo goes down to an injury, let's just say you're trusting second-year rookie Fedoni, and if Bellinger and Manhurts are back, there's really nothing else there that you could do. I'd imagine they sign a veteran, but just a thought that I had. Nothing like I'm not by saying that, George. I'm not like super concerned about the position. Like, oh my God, we need to replace it. More just so like if there's a chance to upgrade, I wouldn't be totally against it.
Yeah, I think there is a little bit of a dynamic between Dart and Johnson. If they could harness it and get it under control with the drops, but again, their level of play, everyone's level of play went down when Scadaboo went out. The whole offense
It's true.
changed just from one player. When you have a guy like, and we're not even talking about pass catching or running. I'm just talking about his blocking. Scadaboo's blocking was incredible, and he continued to block down the field. It's not like he made one block and then, called it quits. He would continue the play blocking down the field. So that opens up avenues for guys. So come on back, Scat.
Yeah, we definitely need you back, Scat. It seems like he's doing well with his recovery, so that's good news.
He's everywhere.
Mm-hmm. He's on Netflix, punching guys on Raw. He's he's at Rockefeller taking pictures, going to concerts, comedy shows. You love to see it. He's involved. He's involved with this city. He wants to be here. And I hope he's back healthy next year, leading our backfield, hopefully getting us to the playoffs, maybe even an NFC East win. It's been way too long.
Let's just get a couple wins.
Yeah, sure. We'll take that for now.
I would take a nice 500 year. We could sit back, build things for the future, something comfortable. Rome wasn't built in a day, right?
Absolutely. But I mean, you look at the coaches this year, what Chicago's been able to do, what Jacksonville's been able to do, right? What New England's been able to do. It is possible if you nail the head coach and hire. But I do agree with you. They should definitely not rush this. But yeah, it's all stuff we'll be talking about during the off season. That's for damn sure. Who's winning, George? Or should I say, who's losing by winning this game?
These two teams might tie. This game feels like it could be a tie. I don't know. It's weird. I know ties aren't something that happens that often. I was actually at a tie against the Commanders.
Remember that.
Ties are interesting, but when two bad teams play, you never know what you're going to get. So I'm going to say, this is going to sting. I'm going to say 24-10 Raiders. We're going to be a little jet lagged too after a holiday. So
that's true. It's definitely true. I'm going to go. Oh man, I'm going to go Vegas 24, Giants 17.
Same one? Oh no, you get one more score.
I gave them one more score than you. So I think Vegas does win the game because I think their offense is a little bit more. Their skill players are a little bit more in sync than ours currently. They have more talent at the skill player position. Without Scadaboo and Neighbors, we're nothing. No Kayvon Thibodeau, Mike McFadden, not good. I'll say this, though,
if they shut down, if Jackson Dart plays the way he did last week intentionally, they shut him down. Hands down.
We'll see. George, any final thoughts as we head into Week 17 and Christmas week?
Just Merry Christmas to everybody, all my family and friends, yourself, your fiance, your brother, everybody, parents. Enjoy family. We don't even get meaningful football in Christmas this year. You want to talk about somebody that screwed the pooch? Whew. You know what that cost them?
A lot of money, yeah.
And no one cares. All the games are. I mean, Kansas City's on what? They're obviously out of it anyway, but they're on their third
Third
string
string.
quarterback. So you don't even get Mahomes.
You don't
Woo.
even get Minshew.
Like why? I mean, I guess they couldn't flex out of it, but man, those are three worthless football games.
The McCarthy's not going to play for Minnesota. It's going to be Max Brosmer. And
Right.
then it's probably going to be Josh Johnson for Washington, unless Mariota somehow clears. So you could pretty much say who's going to win right now. Dallas wins, Denver wins, and Detroit wins. It's pretty much a done deal. But yeah, also Merry Christmas to you and your wife, George. You know, your father, your kids, your dogs, your whole family, friends. Appreciate you as always. This has been a lot of fun. The city that never sleeps.
We're sleeping a lot though.
Yes, we might be sleeping this week. Make sure to don't stuff yourself up too much, folks. Appreciate you all. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Love one another. George Bristol. I am Tom Scavetta. Wishing you all a good evening, a Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays. As George puts the paper bag on one more time. Without further ado, let's go Big Blue.